What's your secret? You got the kind of vibe that leaves men speechless. It could be model multitasking genius. Yeah, you got it all.
Welcome back to another episode of Breakthrough Conversations with Rhoda and Company. This is the place where real stories, real leaders, and real growth collide. So today's episode is so special because I get to sit down with someone who's not only a brilliant leader and special human, but he's a former colleague who I deeply admire, Erik Person. Welcome, Erik. You're welcome. Erik is a culture shifter, a people champion, and proud builder of what he affectionately calls lovable misfits. Now, when Erik says lovable misfits, he doesn't mean chaos, he means magic. He's talking about teams where everyone's uniqueness is the superpower, where people are encouraged to bring their quirks, their gifts, their talents, and whole selves into the room without judgment. Teams where the collective brilliance outshines any single resume bullet point. Erik's journey started in public accounting, where he quickly became known not just for his technical expertise, but for his relationship building. I can attest to this, his mentoring and his passion for recruiting the next generation of change makers. Erik later stepped boldly into the firm credit system, charged with building an in-house audit function from the ground up. In over 13 years, he transformed not only the work, but the way people experience the work, shifting risk conversations toward resiliency and long-term viability, always anchored in one belief, and that is our people are the engine of everything. And along the way, Erik earned his MBA in strategic leadership and completed an executive certificate in mindful leadership from the University of Chicago, where he also resides, deepening the human, mindful, empathetic lens he's known for today. So, through highs, lows, reinventions, wins, and challenges, one theme has remained the heartbeat of Erik's leadership: celebrate people, honor their gifts, lead with empathy, build teams where everyone belongs. Because in the world and in mind, that's where real transformation happens. So today, we're unpacking exactly that: why the future of leadership is undeniably and unapologetically human. So let's dive in. You ready, Erik?
Scram. Wow. Wow. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here, Rhoda.
Yes. I really appreciate you saying yes, Erik. And that intro is so deserving. Like, I lived the experience with Erik. He's one of the first leaders I resonated with and connected with, and we built a relationship that is even standing today. So, Erik, leadership is evolving rapidly. And then when you hear the phrase, the future of leadership is human, what does that mean to you?
Oh, it's a great question.
Mm-hmm.
We go profound with it,
Right.
right, and get super theoretical. But what I really want to focus on when I think about the future of leadership as human is first it's rebellion,
Mm-hmm.
right? I really think about that when we think about leadership and everything that we've learned, whether you learn it, in like in training or through schooling.
Mm-hmm.
There's a very structured approach to how you be a leader. It's very
Right.
much are trying to maximize productivity and effectiveness. No, we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about leading people. We're not
Right.
leading widgets and robots and all those things. So I really think when we have a human approach to leadership in the
Mm-hmm.
future is about people,
Right.
it is an act of redundant.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah, the other part, what I really wanted, I think about, let's boil it all back though. What is leadership really all about?
Yes.
At the end of the day, it's about creating spaces and environments, people that can show up
Mm-hmm.
authentically as themselves,
Mm-hmm.
feel seen and heard, and
Mm-hmm.
valued for what they contribute. If
Yes.
we believe that as a fundamental component of leadership, how can it not be centered around humans?
Right. How can it not be? You know, the research talks about it being future of leadership is human. Surprise, it's always been human. And to and to your
As
point,
I think a lot
yeah.
of things, through the research, through our lived experiences,
Mm-hmm.
one thing that we maybe as society have lost focus on
Mm-hmm.
is this constant need for duality between
Yes.
things. And I think about when I think about leadership in and of itself, and especially
Mhm.
human-centric leadership, it's the duality of togetherness
Yes.
between empathy and accountability. Right?
Yes.
It's never just one or the
The
other.
other, right.
Harmony of the two.
Yes, you can hold people accountable, but also have empathy for them and do the accountability in a kind way, in a
Absolutely.
human centric way. So true. So, Eric, how would you describe, speaking of empathy, how would you describe empathy and leadership? And what's the difference between empathy and being nice?
Oh, I think we all can think of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's such a great question. As any leader has experience in their career, I think
Mm-hmm.
early on we think it's the same, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not. They're not synonyms. They're not.
Right.
They do not mean the same thing. They're actually, in my opinion, they're antonyms between one another.
Mm-hmm.
Nice is all about uh, nicety and
Mm-hmm.
politeness and
Mm-hmm.
maintaining status quo for the
Mm-hmm.
sake of not getting uncomfortable or being uncomfortable.
Right.
Like say, I've always heard the expression, nice is I got a piece of spinach in my tooth and we're having this conversation. And you don't want to hurt my feelings, so you don't know.
Right.
Right. Empathy is the opposite of that.
Mm-hmm.
Empathy is recognizing like, oh, like Eric has a piece of spinach in his tooth. I need to let him know. And the way that I'm going to do that is
Mm-hmm.
to honor him, let him
Mm-hmm.
know, maybe pull him aside and say, hey, got a little
Mm-hmm.
something in your tooth. But it's
Mm-hmm.
having sometimes maybe what may be deemed on the surface a little
Yes.
bit of discomfort in
Mm-hmm.
conversation
Mm-hmm.
to achieve the outcome that we're trying to get to,
Right.
right? It really is. Empathy is so incredibly important in today's
Mm-hmm.
world. But I also, if we can't, we also need to be mindful of the type of empathy that we're talking about too,
Yes. Yes.
right? Empathy, when we think about empathy, I've always heard of it as there's two types of empathy.
Mm-hmm.
There's cognitive empathy,
Mm-hmm.
the understanding of
Mm-hmm.
others' emotions and recognizing where people are
Mm-hmm.
at,
Mm-hmm.
and the emotional or affective empathy.
Mm-hmm.
The way I learned this was the example
Mm-hmm.
that is Eric's in a 10-foot hole. He fell into a
Mm-hmm.
hole.
Mm-hmm.
Effective empathy is Rhoda gets in that hole with him and said, God, this is real hard, isn't it?
Right.
Right? Now we got two people stuck in the hole. That doesn't
Oh,
do us
right.
any good, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
think a lot of people believe that empathy means getting into those feelings with that person and
Mm-hmm.
mirroring through where they're at.
Mm-hmm.
That's not empathy. That's a
No.
version of almost nice. That's niceness
Right.
being disguised as empathy. What we're
Yes.
talking about is that cognitive empathy, right? Well,
Yes.
it's the recognition of, oh, I see you're in that hole, Eric.
Mm-hmm.
What do you need from me that maybe for support? And then that
Mm-hmm.
active listening and say, hey, maybe I put myself here. I want to be
Right.
here. Like I just need
Right.
to time out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or hey, could you throw me a rope?
Right.
That's really the big difference.
Yeah. And even deeper than that, empathetic, I'd rather work for an empathetic leader, cognitive empathy, any day over a nice one. Why? Because the empathetic leader is not just going to throw you the rope, they're going to educate you and teach you how not to fall in the hole again. Whereas a nice leader, they're so nice, they might get in the hole with you. We now in the same shape. I'm not growing and developing under that type of leadership. So it's best to have be under the leadership of a cognitive empathetic leader any day than it is just a nice one. Those are great analogies, Eric.
Thanks. And I think,
Mm-hmm.
to your point too, I mean, we are also all led, right? So
Mm-hmm.
when you're being led by
Mm-hmm.
a empathetic leader, understanding that their goal and their purpose is
Mm-hmm.
to help you along the path, right?
Yes.
And that's a challenging conversation sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
right? We've
Mm-hmm.
all been there,
Yeah.
and having those tough conversations.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fact that you want to have the conversation,
Right.
help yourself get better. Is
Mm-hmm.
when you have an empathetic leader who stops having those conversations,
Mm-hmm.
that's when it's like, okay, like I better watch out,
Yes.
something's up, right?
Red flag, right. You want that because, to your point, I'm sharing this feedback with you, employee. I'm having this very uncomfortable, difficult conversation with you, employee, because I care about you, because
Exactly.
I empathize with you.
And
Mm.
it goes way beyond just work too. It goes to our
Mm-hmm.
personal lives. If you have
Yes.
children, if you have friends, if you're
Mm-hmm.
in the community, th-
Right.
applies in all facets of our life.
Yes, yes, that's powerful. So, Eric, can you share a moment from your career where leading with empathy changed the outcome of your team or for you as a leader?
Yeah. So, in your intro, the lovable misfits is
Yes.
um, something that I came across, and it was absolutely a turning point for me
Mhm.
as an individual and as a leader.
Mhm.
And it was when I had the opportunity to take over and develop an internal audit function
Mhm.
at our former place of employment.
Mhm.
And we had a hodgepodge of talent, right?
Mhm.
And it was really trying to figure out how do we bring all those pieces and those team members, and they
Mhm.
really were unique talents
Yes.
together to change the output of what we were trying to achieve.
Mhm.
And we had like it was not easy.
Mhm.
It was a lot of hard conversations, a lot of hard truths had to be
Mhm.
recognized. I had to own I was good at some things, and I
Mhm.
was not good at other things. So I need to
Mhm.
find others who are really good at the things that I wasn't good at and
Right.
get out of the way, right?
Mhm.
And through that, it really was a recognition that the team, we really said, hey, we are this lovable band of misfits.
Mhm.
And we do not like lovable band, right? The band is really important
Band.
because
Right.
you miss one player in that band, the
Mhm.
harmony's off, right?
Yes.
The notes don't work, the pitch is wrong, someone's off
Mhm.
beat, something
Mhm.
goes awry, it doesn't sound good. But when
Mhm.
we all come together, it is that's when we really make that fantastic music. And I really think it drove results immediately when we
Mhm.
figured out that kind of what that song that we were playing was
Yes.
and
Mhm.
recognized that, hey, everyone showed up with a part and it was so important.
Mhm.
We not only changed that for our team and for our organization, we then were able to lead that broader throughout the system. And
Yes.
it was a huge like lightning bolt.
Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful. Eric, what do we mean about being a human centric leader? What does it look like in like daily practice?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question.
Mhm.
I really think for me personally, it is a lot of unlearning first and
Mhm.
foremost
Mhm.
what we think leadership is and
Yes.
was, uh,
Mhm.
and then also let me be really honest, it's a little bit of selfishness in the sense
Mhm.
of it's me before we. And what
Mhm.
I mean by that is I have got to get my head right. Right. I
Mhm.
got to be in the right space and be
Mhm.
able to lead on a daily basis. And
Yes.
there, let's be honest, we are humans.
Mhm.
I've got a freshman in college who is, 5.5 hours away. I have a 13-year-old at home, and my wife is a principal. Like we're
Mhm.
busy people, and there are just
Mhm.
sometimes where I'm just not in that moment. And
Right.
it's not a matter of masking that. It's of
Mhm.
honoring that and saying, hey, this is what I've got going on because I am a whole person. I don't
Yes.
compartmentalize and show up individually. So I
Mhm.
think that's number one. But
Mhm.
then also recognizing that and sharing that a practice
Mhm.
and acknowledge it with your team,
Right.
right? And so, like,
Mhm.
if you're having a bad day, like,
Mhm.
hey, Rhoda, I see her. We might be a little bit off. My door is always open, virtually, in person, whatever it is. If you want to have a conversation,
Mhm.
if not, I respect.
Right.
I think that's where a lot of times where we feel, what I've seen is, oh, I have to like my leadership checklist that's go
Mhm.
around at 3 o'clock and say, check in with Rhoda. How is she doing?
Mhm.
It's not a
Mhm.
checklist, right? It's
Right.
a real act of reading the room,
It is.
understanding the presence,
Mhm.
and being able to move through it.
Right. I love that. And meeting people where they are. And when you show up, I love that you said self first because if we're not taking care of ourselves mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, we can't show up and be our best self for others. So we first have
Yeah.
to be kind to ourselves. And when we show up and we're willing to be vulnerable, as you just described, guess what that does? It sets the tone for your team to feel safe to also be vulnerable. So they may have days where I used to ask employees, do you have the capacity to receive feedback? Um, I love that phrasing of it because they may not have the capacity in that moment or that particular day. And it's important because, to your point, we're all humans. We're bringing our whole self to work.
100%.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, Eric, do you have a story about a human-centric leader where you had the privilege of working with them? And if so, how did it look in action? Kind of like what impact did it have on you personally or
Yeah,
professionally?
I've been fortunate to work with some really great leaders. I
Mm-hmm.
also think, honestly, as I reflect on my career, and not just professionally, but
Mm-hmm.
just through the opportunities that I've had, I think we're a shift in leadership right now, where
Mm-hmm.
we are really becoming more human focused. And
Mm-hmm.
I want to say moving away from servant leadership and other
Right.
really great leadership styles, but this human centric thing, I think, is taking the grassroots effort that's taking
Mm-hmm.
hold. Um, but I think where we see a lot, and one individual I can very distinctly remember the
Mm-hmm.
conversation with him, and he was a former CEO that I worked with,
Mm-hmm.
and he brought me on board, and he knew, like, where I was in my life, right? And
Mm-hmm.
at the time, man, I'm not gonna lie, I was still fairly young.
Mm-hmm.
I was in my late 20s. My
Mm-hmm.
wife and I had, had our son, who we
Mm-hmm.
started kindergarten. My daughter was literally she was born April 30th. I
Mm-hmm.
think it started, like, beginning of July, so she's about 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, crazy time personally, and he said, "Hey, Eric, work's always gonna be there. You need to really focus on your why. Why you're showing up,
Mm-hmm.
what motivates you, and how does that then impact your decisions and where you wanna go?"
Mm-hmm.
And he talked about how he was very family focused and
Mm-hmm.
what that meant to him, what
Mm-hmm.
and what it means to me is it's not saying always choose family over the other alternate. What it
Mm-hmm.
means is when I make my choice, that's my choice.
Right.
So if I choose to be on the business trip, that's why I'm on because that's what
Mm-hmm.
makes sense for me. If I'm choosing to not go to a meeting, right, because it's my kid's Christmas uh, carol thing at
Mm-hmm.
school, or a lot of times, in all honesty, when he actually was very funny about it, was I got to be a room parent, right,
Mm-hmm.
for my kids in
Mm-hmm.
elementary school, and having those opportunities and saying, yes, most
Mm-hmm.
like there's not, let's say, a standard mode that people see, but
Right.
you have that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Why not embrace it? Because it is my life and my
Right.
family life. So then why wouldn't you embrace those opportunities?
Mm-hmm.
And to see someone, you know, in a leadership position that
Mm-hmm.
has this wealth of experience, that just smart guy, also resonate with that, really
Mm-hmm.
like this is doable. We can
Mm-hmm.
figure this out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's nice. So, there could be a few naysayers listening to us, and they may be like, oh, they talking all this fluffy stuff, talking about the soft skills and all this human centric stuff. Hey, it's real. We get work done through others, we achieve things
Mhm.
through others. So, Eric, how can leaders balance care and compassion for people with accountability and business performance?
It is here's the deal, and you're so right. The
Mm-hmm.
this soft, squishy thing, like, "Oh, yeah, we can
Right.
let's totally attack it." But I
Mm-hmm.
think what we really need to have a real, awareness to is when we're talking about human-centric leadership,
Mm-hmm.
we're talking about empathy. As I mentioned when we started, it's a
Yes.
duality conversation in combination with
Mhm.
accountability.
Accountability, yep.
Otherwise, you go down that, effective
Mhm.
empathy and nourishment, and you're just getting into the feelings. I'm going to feel them with you.
Right.
The overall empathy and accountability must go in and
Mhm.
right. So we're going to get real clear on what the outcomes are that are expected. We're going to maybe have set dates on how we're going to check in and what we're looking
Mhm.
for. And we're going to have plans to say, if these things go awry, right, this is how we're going to talk about
Right.
it. And then we're going to follow through. And that's the accountability part. Like,
Yes.
accountability is also setting up those expectations. It's having those plans. And then empathy comes in. You're being transparent,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
You're saying, this is what I expect. And then the care in which we deliver it, right?
Yes.
We're humans. We made mistakes. Things happen. But being able to have those conversations and being aligned to those, it is, to me, it is absolutely it's the same side of the coin. It's on two sides. They're the
Mhm.
same part. Like you have to
Right.
act together.
Right. Two sides, same coin. You're not just talking about empathy and caring and showing up for people, but you're also talking about accountability. We need both. Why is empathy even more critical, Eric, in times of change or transition or challenge?
Yeah, I think it's such a great question,
Mhm.
especially in this day and age where there's so much going on and that like just across the world and all in our lives. We live in a very this is not political, but ever changing society, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
No, I had a honor a few years ago to listen to a keynote speaker talking about the pace of change. He said,
Mhm.
"Today is the slowest pace of change you'll experience for your rest of your life."
Right.
Right? And I remember when he said that, like, I thought about it, I was like, "Oh, wow. Holy cow."
Mhm.
So if we are all experiencing that,
Mhm.
I think we don't have empathy as leaders and as
Right.
frankly as human beings for one another,
Mhm.
how much harder would it be?
Right.
Like, it would just be so much harder. So I really think empathy is that single most important
Mhm.
attribute and
Mhm.
competency, skill, whatever you want to title it
Right.
as, that we all need to have, especially in challenging times, because it is the recognition of, hey,
Mhm.
what is happening right now? That's hard.
Mhm.
But here's the privilege. We can do hard things.
We
We
can.
can work together to move through these things, to figure out an action, right? It
Yes.
is not saying, "Oh, that's so hard. I feel so bad for you,"
Mhm.
right? Let me wallow with you.
Mhm.
That's not empathy.
No.
Empathy is recognizing, hey, that's tough, and
Mhm.
I'm here to help. How can I
Right.
help? And
Yes.
the follow through is listening, and
Mhm.
it's true active listening, right? It's
Yes.
not just like, "Oh yeah, Rhoda, great, thanks, that's so great." No, it's what is Rhoda saying?
Mhm.
What am I hearing? What is Rhoda not saying too?
Mhm.
What is her
Mhm.
body telling me? Her body language,
Right.
right? And really actively listening and moving
Mhm.
through that to really help.
Yes. Yes. Love that. That's a great description. It is not, like you said, just the soft stuff, but it's also what can I do to support you during this challenging time? And we're going to get through this together, but you're not saying you're not holding people accountable just because it is a challenging time for them, but you're also going to uplift them and support them. Yeah.
And the other parts of that word too is
Hmm.
acknowledge it's hard and it's challenging,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Like how many times have you been on, whether it be work or it's a project
Mhm.
or something, right?
Mhm.
It's hard and it's messy
Right.
and it's like I'm like, I don't know. Sometimes
Mhm.
it just feels good if they don't. But yeah, I see what you're going through is hard.
Yes.
And I'm proud that you keep on working through it.
Yes.
Me, person, that lifts me. That
Mhm.
lifts me up. And
Right.
just those little things help
Yeah,
people
just the
so much.
acknowledgement, the acknowledgement of that you recognize that it's hard. Yeah, but and to your point, encouraging them through it, and we can do hard things, and we're gonna do
Exactly.
it together. So, Eric, what advice would you give leaders who are trying to support their teams through uncertainty? Because we got a lot of that nowadays, and while also staying grounded themselves.
Hmm. Yeah, I love this question.
Mm-hmm.
I think of it as what would I have told myself in the
Mm-hmm.
beginning, right? Like, you hear that a lot. And I think the first thing I would do is like, hey, like, let's get honest about the me before we
Mm-hmm.
conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not selfish.
Right.
It is actually the most selfless thing you can
Could
do,
do.
is
Mm-hmm.
because you're getting yourself ready to put out
Mm-hmm.
your gifts to the world and to help others, right? So I
I
think
love that.
it can come across when you think about it like, oh, that's really
Mhm.
selfish to get your head right and like focus on yourself first
Mhm.
before you go help. And actually, when you're doing it in the spirit of, so I can lead and
Mhm.
help, it's
Mhm.
the most selfless thing we can do
Yeah.
because
It
it protects our
Mhm.
energy.
Right.
I think the other thing that I would really, really uh, encourage
Mhm.
people young in their career who have opportunities and really step back. And it kind of dives into a little bit of the imposter syndrome
Mhm.
conversation
Mhm.
is you are meant to be in the
Yes.
right. And if you are asked to be in that room that means someone and multiple people probably
Mhm.
see your gifts.
Yes.
Do not talk yourself out of that
Out of
room,
that. Mm.
right? And honor yourself, honor
Mhm.
those gifts. That little bit of imposter syndrome or the big
Mhm.
voice, like I know myself, like sometimes it gets real loud
Mhm.
in my ear.
Mhm.
And I think I sometimes will listen to it. And then
Mhm.
other times I say, well, what do I have at stake here? What is the,
Right.
like, how much do I care? And the
Mhm.
louder the voices, it
Mhm.
usually means I care even more and more, right?
Right. Right.
So when that imposter syndrome tone speaks up in your ear,
Mhm.
acknowledge the fact that it's probably because you care,
Right.
right? And that's a great place to work from.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because if you don't lead with, if you don't care, then
Right.
the outcome, it might still be good, but it's
Right.
not going to be that exploration point great, right?
Yes.
And I think
Mhm.
those are the two, um, the big things I would
Mhm.
totally recommend
Mhm.
to our younger generation, even myself. Uh,
Yes.
but yeah,
I
I think
love.
those are really really important things to remember.
Yeah. Yeah. This selfless act of putting yourself first and taking care of self and preparing yourself to lead reminds me of when you're flying on a plane, and if we lose oxygen, you need to put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you can help someone else. And to the point you made, the second point about if you're in the room, it's because you deserve to be there, and not allowing the imposter syndrome or the gremlin that really is there as a way to protect you, not allowing it to have the keys to the car, trying to put it in the trunk and
Mhm.
then put it in its place and then serve. Be who you are meant to be. I love that. That's great advice. So, Eric, how do you hope your leadership will be remembered?
Oh,
Talking about legacy leadership.
that's,
Mm,
yeah. Oh, oh. I love this question, man. I know you've asked it in your
mhm.
podcast, and I love hearing all the responses.
Mhm.
Um, they're so deeply personal. I think for me, um, without trying to get, I can probably not
Mhm.
get choked up here, but for me, it is a leader that was a connector,
Mhm.
uh, and truly was authentic and compassionate
Yes.
for all of my team, right? For
Mhm.
everyone I work
Mhm.
with, that inspired everyone to be their best selves and to
Yes.
show up as their full
Mhm.
selves,
Mhm.
right? And then but they could, and
Yes.
they say, "Hey, I got to work with Eric for, it could be 13 years,
Mhm.
25 years,
Mhm.
3 years, three
Mhm.
months,
Mhm.
but the quality of the time that we spent together
Yes.
far exceeded whatever quantity of time it was, and it
Yes.
made an impact because Eric really cared about where
Mhm.
I wanted to go."
Right.
I think one of the most important things that us as leaders need to recognize that we have in our hands
Mhm.
someone's dreams and desires to achieve,
Yes.
and it is our responsibility
Mhm.
to help them on that path.
Yes.
Right. So that means, I mean, I've had some really great team members I've worked with, spend very little bit of time together
Mhm.
from a career time, timeline, but it
Right.
was a stop on their journey. So that
Mhm.
time with me was to get them ready for that next step.
Yes.
Right. And that is so incredible. That's one
Mhm.
thing I really hope that I will be remembered.
Yes. I think you will, Eric, because you gave me that impression. Yes, leadership and being responsible for the success and future career aspirations of others, I think it's just very serious business, and I take it very seriously. And therefore, you have to approach it through a human centric lens. It's very
Absolutely.
delicate because you're dealing with the emotional well being of others. I've watched my son, who's a college athlete on a football scholarship, and how his spirit has been so broken because he's not gotten what was promised when he first went there, the development they were going to give him, the playtime. None of it was promised. In fact, he feels like he's gotten the opposite. And it's like he was at a point where he seemed so broken and lost That's what leadership, good or bad leadership, can do. And it can really derail people, and it can affect their emotional and mental well-being.
You bring up a really, I think, really important part too,
Mhm.
Rhoda, is your example does not work. It's
Right.
outside of work, right?
Right.
In our personal
Yes.
life. So if you're showing up and you're volunteering in
Mhm.
a community, at your church, whatever it is, these things all apply, right?
Right.
It's your job as a leader that you're a steward of helping people
Mhm.
on their journey.
Mhm.
And you don't do that, you're exactly right.
Yeah.
We derail the journey,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So I think it's very profound, very powerful.
Yes. So I'm going to ask you in closing, Eric, a fill in the blank. The future of leadership is human because.
Right. So I really think the future of leadership is human because when we really think about it, leaders will not be the ones who win by being the smartest person in the
Mhm.
room. They're going to
Mhm.
be the winners who are the most human, who are
Yes.
able to get the outcomes and lead team to
Mhm.
achieve greater success.
Mhm.
That is not done through being smart. It's done
Yes.
by asking the right questions
Mhm.
and connecting the people to move things forward.
Yes. Thank you for that, Eric. I did not know that I teach part-time online courses, and one of my students emailed me today. He's 22 years old. He lost his mom a few years ago, and he said that he Googled me and he found my podcast, and he's been listening to them. He quoted people and guests from the podcast that he's been listening to, and I had no idea. Like when I set out to do this, and there are days where I get discouraged and say, I think I'm going to stop doing it. And then I say, no, it's a reason why I'm doing it. It's a platform, it's another way to teach and educate. And that just inspired me so much when I got that email, because I had no idea that students could possibly even be interested or just stumble up and listen. So he told me in his email today to keep doing what I'm doing. So when you were talking, Eric, I was just imagining rooms full of young, eager, hungry, emerging, ready to lead folks, and they are now getting access to this type of intel and information because people like you and others have been willing to come and share. So I just want to thank you for that. And we just don't know who we're impacting and who we're touching. But again, it's all about legacy leadership and what do you want your legacy to be? And if your answer is, I want to leave a positive impression and grow and glow and help people grow and glow, then let your leadership actions guide you. So, Eric, thank you for joining me and reminding us that leadership isn't about perfection, it's about presence, it's about seeing people, it's about valuing what makes them unique and creating teams where everyone feels like they're an essential piece of the puzzle. So, to my listeners, if today's conversation stirred something in you, that's your cue. Maybe it's time to lead a little softer, listen a little deeper, or rethink what performance really means on your team. The future of leadership is human. I believe the past was human. I believe the present is human. And that future starts with each of us choosing to show up differently. So if you enjoyed this episode, share it with the leader who needs this message. Subscribe for more breakthrough conversations and leave a review. It helps amplify stories like Eric's around the world. Until next time, remember your breakthrough begins here. Thank you for listening.
Hey, what's your secret? You got the kind of vibe that leaves me speechless. It could be model multitasking genius, yeah, you got it all. Hey, what's your story? A kick-ass mom and 40 under 40. A soccer practice in your high heel glory, yeah, you do it all.